it's not turning properly. Forgive me. I'm trying to do this where uh, it, when I want to do a drive and talk, it gets so difficult because the um, the glass is this it's overheating the phone, and after about 30 minutes it's I don't want the phone to continue to overheat like that. So I have this new mount here, and I've had it for a while actually. It's one of those $5 mounts. I think it's o I think they upped the price. So this company here is now it's $6. It used to be $5. And when I was in my smart cars, I would buy one every like few months, and they worked really well. So I'm gonna drink that today. Um, I'm gonna switch the camera over because I'm sure this is a better view. Bang! Look at that. And I didn't go vertical. I'm sorry I didn't go vertical. I know YouTube is pushing all of us to just do this vertical look. I couldn't go vertical. Okay, they stopped. They wanted me to. I'm gonna go left, buddy. Matter of fact, since I'm doing a drive, I'll go local. And YouTube is pushing us to do this vertical thing. You see, this is the one that I use normally, but it's so close to this here that it doesn't. It's just not working. I need to clean this glass here that we're using. I apologize for my neglect to do that. And wow, this is a serious view here. Right. Okay. I had a great time last night over at the Doc the Surgeon's house. We had he had his sons there. I had my two children there, Madison and Cody, of course. I also have another child, Amina, but she wasn't there. She's like 26. She could be even 25. Yeah, she might be. I think she's 26 though. It's it's the sativa that doesn't have me remembering exactly the age. And I also got to see the doc's brother, Manny. Good guy, super smart. And I met his daughter that was like 15 years old. So my 11-year-old and 13-year-old was there. The doc's kids were there. They're like I think 11 and 13. I think they're the same age as my kids. There's a few months where they're not, where it's a little off. My son is a little older, but for the most part they're like 13 and 11. And it was great seeing them. There was some other young lady was there. Manny's daughter was there. She was like 15, so it was like kind of cool to see my kids around, other kids their age. And then to be around smart kids is always a beautiful thing. And am I saying that my children are around other children that are not that smart? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. The idiots out there in these damn streets. So it's always good to do that. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the doc's allegory. That it's best if I let him speak on it, but I'm going to give you the gist of it. Is that we're on this cruise ship, and on this cruise ship, there's a cliff off in the distance. You can't really see the cliff. You know the cliff. Do we know that I'm not sure if the people on the ship know that the cliff is there, or is it just a certain amount of people that maybe came across some sort of information and they did some research, maybe got some telescopes, maybe there's a guy in one of the rooms on the ship who has this amazing way of, utilizing mason jars into magnifying glasses and telescopes, that where you can see this cliff. And I was going to say this proverbial cliff, but is the cliff proverbial if it's literally there? But the allegory is all about this cliff and how we, the people, are on this cliff, and this cliff is heading towards its ultimate fate, which is destruction. At least one would think that was the destruction, because I would always argue, like, how do we know that? Yes, there's a cliff there, but why is the assumption that the cliff is death? The cliff is the end of us. Is the cliff possibly just a stage to the next step in this reality? And when I say this reality, in this mind, in this meat suit, in this body, is it possible that the cliff is just, maybe we're supposed to be on this course. Maybe the course of this cliff is not as detrimental, but I have not been able to argue that with him yet, because this is something that he's talked about it before. And last night during the party, or the get together, it came up again. And it's like, where the idea is like, the idea is like, do we, the people, like, how do we find, like, the idea is that while you're living in this reality, okay, let me rephrase that. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. All right. Okay, here we go. In this reality that we're in this on this ship, you have all these choices to make, and all these choices are going to not even be a future for you. This is a future for the future you. So you, that person, right? You're on this ship. You find out there's a cliff. I don't know if the cliff is, if everyone knows there's a cliff and there's nothing they can do about it, or is it this cliff that's off in the distance that nobody's talking about, right? Something like maybe Nibiru, the planet Nibiru is coming and spinning around to come smack right into Earth. I remember when all that was popping back in 2018, 2019, something like that. Nibiru was like the big thing. But now we got this ship and we have this cliff. We don't know. We would have the doc explain it, but these are the questions I would ask of the doc, is that, do we know that there's a cliff there? And is there any, how do we steer this ship away from the cliff? Or is this a secret that the ship is going towards this cliff? And for all we know, this ship could tip over into the cliff, and then some sort of AI system cleans the damn ship and repaints it and puts it back out to sea. And this cliff, by the way, it's a cliff that's possibly over 100 years to get to. That's the allegory as well. There's this ship, there's this cliff, there's 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, I'm not sure, in between that. So this would mean that in a person's lifetime, so it has to be more than 100 years, because arguably a person could live to 100 years old in this reality. So we're talking about generations. If you know that there's a cliff, and ultimately, allegedly, at the end of this cliff, then you would what? What would you do? You would Let me think. What would you do? You would do everything you can so that your future selves. But here's the thing: who knows that there's a future self? Who knows that they have this ability to constantly be recreated into these meat suits? Who knows this? Who's the person on the ship that gets that? Is that Malcolm X? Is that John F. Kennedy? Is that Colin Powell? Who knows this? Who's aware of this? Is Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, did they know this? Did they know about the cliff and that we're going to the impending doom? Who knows? And what happens when you do know? Do you get? How do you live? Like, it's all about streaming. All of this started what launched the conversation was streaming, and how streaming is the future for content creation and monetization, and not doing horizontal, doing vertical, right? That's the thing, because we are feeding, and the reason why it's so vertical opposed to horizontal, because there's no peripheral. Like right now, you're getting a peripheral view in the vehicle. You're getting, like, seriously, you can get, like, no one can get away with anything on there's no sleight of hand here. Whereas what they're pushing the vertical view so that there is a sleight of hand, so to speak. Ooh, that's kind of fire. Somebody write that down. So we have this sort of sleight of hand with the vertical that can happen. There's so much going on left and right side of that vertical screen, and they want you to focus and concentrate all your content in this little space. So my question is, why? The doc would argue it's because it's AI, and it's the building of AI, and they're constantly trying to understand right there in that vertical. They want you to be able to release your emotions, your pain, your happiness, your sorrow. They need all that done without the distractions of something coming into frame, so to speak. So this system that we are aware of, this AI system is the cliff. The AI system is the cliff, but is the AI, is it, if we do not, in other words, if I stop doing the vertical, if I start doing the vertical, and if I start constantly streaming, and I start to receive those AdSense and that monetization, am I then selling out myself? Is my argument. The doc would argue, yes, you are. Yes, because if you live a life that is good and just and true, then you are going to come back even better. And when that soul, or that energy, or that life force leaves the body, then you come back even better and better and better. My argument is, what is the definition of better? Do you come back, you get to cry in a Rolls Royce and not in a Honda Civic? That's like that was a nod to Future, even though I butchered it. But I'm off the cuff over here. Forget about it. So now, what's going on here? You living on this. You're gonna live this life, right? And say, I need to be true to myself and not go. I need to be true to my future self and not placate, not submit to AI and the obvious future that is providing and is going to allow people like me. I am heavy in the stock market when it comes to AI. And I'm also heavy in the stock market when it comes to private prisons. Should I not invest in private prisons when I can see crystal clear that they are building 50 new private prisons? Is America's future going to be full with prisons? I say yes. I say that the people will scream out loud. They're going to give away their freedoms just for a little sense of freedom. And the guy in the $100 bill said, how dare you? You don't deserve neither. If you would give away your freedom so that you can have a false sense of security, you don't deserve freedom or security. And that guy's on the $100 bill. Forget about it. So now we have a situation where like let me slow down. Let me back up. All right. Let me back up a second here. Ooh, look at all that watermelon. See, I didn't even have to turn the camera. You saw that. Oh, I gotta stop. Oh no, we just bought a watermelon today, but what? How much? Oh, those look so delicious. Dang. I digress. Let me keep on going. Little kids playing in the sprinklers. That's cool. We have this ship. We have this cliff. The cliff is AI. How will you, here's the thing, here's my argument to the doc today, because I saw him earlier today. And that's what actually launched this show, this live. Here's the thing. You can no longer not be involved, because if let's say Malcolm X and JFK and all those good people that's in those prisons that are in the United States of America has 2 prisons for political prisoners. No trials, no due process. They come, they snatch you from wherever country or wherever state or city or town you're in, and it doesn't matter if you're a foreigner or American, born on American soil. None of that matters. There are 2 prisons in the United States of America that are full with, maybe people know that know about the cliff. Is that who's there? I don't know, but I know the safety of this country and this idea of this country, which really just it's not real, because this country is a business. Okay, and you cannot have people in your business effing up business. And if they F up your business, then you come in at night and you snatch them up, and there's no due process. There's nothing you can do about it. That's the reality of where we're in. Most people, they believe that due process is the way America works. No, it does not work like that. America is a business, and it's a corporation. And if you F with it, then you're going to get what Malcolm X and JFK and so many other people got, including the people that are alive and sitting in these prisons. And my point is that there's this huge war going on in this ship. On this cruise ship, there is a war going on. And there's a war between good and evil, and I always make the joke, and I start yelling and screaming. I get beige rage, and I do fake anger, and I go, and how dare you? How dare you think you know which one is which? There's a war going on between good and evil, and how dare you? How dare you think you know which one is which? And I stand on that. And yeah, I throw in the beige rage, and I throw in all that, the YouTube acting anger. I do all that. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't hold weight. We are constantly believing that we know what is good and what is evil. And I don't think we truly have a clue. I think that we have been told what good and evil is by our parents. And we are on autopilot, and we're truly not critically thinking here. Just imagine if an alien race came down here and saw what we did to the cows. They might find it, they might find it justified to take all of us out. Look what we do to the minks and the chinchillas for fashion. There might be an idea that that's pretty bad. Like maybe we want to take y'all out for doing something like that to these innocent little creatures that my mother told me growing up. This the only life they knew. That's what my mother said. It's the only life they knew. And that's what she taught me. Because my mom used to have a thrift shop. She owned a thrift shop. And going through some of her items in her thrift shop, there was furs and minks and coats. And I was like, Mom, don't you feel bad for the little mink? My mother said that's the only life they knew. They were bred for that. This is why they were bred. If we didn't need this coat, they would have never survived. The fact that we need them allows them to live. I was like, whoa. I did not know my mother was such a capitalist. But my mother was a true capitalist. That was a fact. My mother had a cleaning service. My mother had what is called a black job. You remember how Donald Trump, 2024, the month of June, in the first presidential debate with Biden, said that, the immigrants that are being allowed into this country are taking away black jobs, and everyone was just all fluffing, and they were clutching the pearls. How dare you? What's a black job? My mother had a black job. She was a maid. My mother had a black job. She worked as housekeeping in the hotels. My mother had a black job when she opened up her own cleaning business. But my mother would only do a contract. People used to be like, yeah, I want you to come every Thursday. My mother said, no problem. Let's write the contract. My mother didn't play that. And most people didn't want to sign the contract. They're like, no, we just want you here. We ain't really into signing no contract. And maybe my mother said, well, let's just do 90 days then. But you had to sign a contract with her. She was a real, true capitalist. God bless her. Wherever. My mother believes she's going to wake up in a paradise earth. And that in this paradise earth, she can go to all the abandoned department stores and get all the clothing that she wants. And she's going to be part of groups of people that are going to be resurrected throughout time. Like, I don't know when her number comes in. Does it come in, is she part of group 85 or group 1405? I have no idea. But she believes that she's going to be resurrected in her same meat suit. She's not going to be resurrected and her soul and her body goes and transcends to the next soul and body. No. My mother wants to come back with her same face. She wants that C4 hair. My mother never had a problem with that hair. She would hit the hot comb. She'd throw the hot comb on the stove when I was a boy and get it curled, get it popping. Never heard her bitch one time moan about her hair, her C4 hair just being so difficult and being not good. Never had none of those things happen. That's why my wife has a whole afro, because I don't play that. Are you kidding me? I never fell for that jargon that they pushed after me. Now women are protecting their hair with the wigs. Really? Protecting your hair. Okay. I hear that fly shit. But anyway, I digress from that. We're talking about the Talk DocDoc the Surgeon's allegory. And the allegory is titled Cruise Ship and Cliff. The cruise ship and the cliff. Yeah, the cruise ship and the cliff. I hope he doesn't mind me doing that. I can always change that if he feels that I've moved too fast. But realistically, if we waited for the doc to put this out there, this allegory out there, it's going to be like 16 more years. We got that kind of time. I was middle-aged at 38 and didn't even know it. I thought I'm middle-aged at 50. No, sir. You're middle-aged at 38 because we don't live until, past 76 unless we're lucky. Come on. We're in Brooklyn. To the right of us is Prospect Park. We are on Prospect Park, southwest side. And this is Vanderbilt Street. Vanderbilt is the cross street, and Prospect Park West, Southwest is the block we're on now driving. And isn't it beautiful? Come on. No one around here makes less than $80,000. Unless you're working as a domesticated fashion, then you make 35 grand. And you got an extra job on the weekends. And you're selling beer at the park. I digress from that. Excuse me for being this this guy here with without his notes. So I have questions about this war going on. And I have questions about everything. I have no real true belief system. I believe in questioning everything, even the thought that you just had, because we should be serious thinkers and not video game players, where we're just doing this monotonous rituals of just running and hiding and running and hiding and searching and running and hiding and searching and running and hiding and searching and ducking, and then of course, in order to get out of that, you have to do a lot of killing in these video games. Right. That sounds good. Yeah. Let me fill my mind with that. So let me think. What else? What else do I have here? If you do not have a group of people moving in that direction of looking out for your future self, right? You need a group of people. I think as individuals, it just doesn't matter. The Bible talks about being a grain of sand. You're this grain of sand on this beach, man. You're not going to make a difference. Will you make a difference for your future selves? I would argue possibly. But the problem is this war going on won't have you come back. If we are all coming back and recycling this energy, if this energy is recycling, you die and you come back as a child. They say that you don't come back with any memories of your past lives. I argue, and maybe the doc, I don't want to put words in his mouth, he might argue this as well, that as a baby, we are being stifled. As a baby, what's happening is that our true selves, our souls, are not being able, we're losing the memories. How are we losing the memories? Because we're being calcified, our pineal glands. Our pineal glands are possibly being calcified from birth at these hospitals, from birth with these epidurals, from birth with all of what I'm not saying there's been massive strides in childbirth and mothers and mortality and all that kind of stuff. Of course. These are great, wonderful, beautiful things. I'm just talking about there are procedures that are going, like the people that run this ship, that are driving this ship, this ship that's heading towards the cliff, right? There are people that pass massive laws so that everybody on the ship could never remember that they were on this ship already. Because if you could remember that you were on the ship, you might start making changes. So from birth, you're being stopped. Whereas some people like Terrence Howard claims, the actor, yes, now the visionary mind of our times, arguably, of course. And I love the fact that they keep breaking everything down as that 1 × 1 equals what again? He says 2, but then 2 doesn't exist. You sure? Okay, thank you, buddy. All right, my friend. Nice guy. So there's a lot going on with Terrence Howard, but what was my point to bringing up Terrence Howard? I got distracted by that man and that older woman. What was I thinking? Okay, so we have the cliff. Oh, So these things that are happening to the children, these protocols that are happening, these protocols that are happening are possibly what is calcifying that pineal gland, calcifying the ability to remember, calcifying the ability to question, why am I here? Where am I? And when am I? You don't think about that because you have a cell phone putting in face. You have a laptop putting in face. You have, at the time when I was a kid, there were comic books put in our face. And then before that, there was, it was tons of things are being put in our faces. They call them distractions. Everyone knows about the distractions. The latest distraction is what? Kendrick Lamar and Drake. And there's just so many. We can just go on and on and on and on and on. So my thing is, what is my thing? With the powers, the people that are running the ship are passing all these laws so the people on the ship can never really remember. How do we get the people to remember? What do you start? Do you start this whole birth movement where people are having these natural births and maybe just laying off of all that stuff, all of those procedures, so to speak? What happens to you? Do you end up like JFK? Do you end up like Malcolm X? Do you end up like Martin Luther King? Or do you end up in one of those prisons? There's 2 of them in the United States of America because one wasn't enough. And I'm sure in the bottom of that boat, they got those prisoners making sure that the coal keeps on coming. Where's the coal coming from that's moving this damn ship? It's a nuclear ship? It's the only way it worked for all that time. How would they be mining coal? Did they figure out a way to use the Tesla's power source with, is this ship being powered? How is this ship being powered? Is it hydrogen being created from extracting the H from the 2O? But according to, some people, 2 ain't even real. But anyway, I digress. I don't know anything about that. I'm a dropout. Come on. And when I say dropout, I got my GED. And anyone who knows me knows where I got it. I got my GED in 1992. I was 18 years old. Yeah. Anyway, I digress from that. All right, we are heading to eat the chicken that LJ seasoned that we were going to cook at the Doc's get-together, but the community grills were all taken. So it didn't work out the way we planned. So those things are getting done right now, as we speak. I don't know. I'm thinking possibly. So I'm heading in that direction. So I think the allegory, the cliff and the cruise ship in the cliff, I like it. I think there's so many questions. Like just the last question I posed is, how's this thing being powered? Who's powering this thing? And then all the workers down in the bottom, those just like the 2 prisons we have here in the States. Are they the political prisoners of their times? And then are they so much political prisoners of their times where do their children have to pay for their so-called crimes? Right. So I think it's a good subject. I think it's something that we should talk more about, and let's figure this out. Let's figure out how this boat is actually moving and who's moving it. And if protocol is getting in the way of righteousness, I would argue you righteously want to not partake in what is the up and coming doom at the end, alleged doom at the end of this cliff. This alleged doom at the end of the cliff, we are trying to independently circumvent that through souls. Like, my soul will be cleansed by me not participating in the vertical of the this movement. I'm gonna go horizontal. The hell with your vertical. I'm not, So it's just that I like the allegory. I like the talking points. I like the ability to, you know, think outside of what we've been given. You know, Plato is not the only one with an allegory. DocDoc the Surgeon has one too. Boom. Ooh, this is still hot. But not as hot as it would have been if it was 2 feet closer. That's a fact. Yeah, man. I did that. You're welcome.